Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm delighted that there's still people here because it's quite late on Friday afternoon and the weather is beautiful outside, but I'm glad you choose to come here. So I'll try to guide you through some of the basics in Android Wear. It's an exciting new platform just released last year, and it might be somebody who wants to get started but don't really know how. So I hope you can use this talk. First of all, how many people has a smartwatch here? Can you raise your hand? Okay, quite a few. How many people has actually made an app for a smartwatch? Okay. Well, this is for beginners only, so, but you're welcome to stay, of course. So a bit about me, I'll do it fast. Well, I started in mobile back in a galaxy far, far away called Java Micro Edition. Well, a long time ago. Unfortunately, we improved a lot in the industry, and well, we have iOS and of course Android. These days, in the academic world, I'm teaching basic computer science, your standard graph algorithms and tree algorithms and this stuff in a local college in Denmark. Well, nobody knows the town, but it's about 1 hour away from Legoland. So if you're in the vicinity, come visit. It's a nice place. And we have quite a good IT community there as well. And I teach one Android course, which is, of course, my favorite. So it's a full semester course, and normally we teach just, let's say, normal phone and tablet Android. But we want to introduce Android Wear, of course, in this course as well for a few weeks. Normally the problem for students, and maybe also many beginners, is actually that, yes, you can find a lot of online material on Google, like code snippets here and there, how to do a confirmation dialog, how to do a list view, but putting everything together is often a bit challenging for students. So I'll show you one sample app that demonstrates a lot of these things. First, actually, I just wanted to show you some, like what is out there. You know, the creativity is actually huge. So just two of my favorite ones for Wear. This was the first one I downloaded, Space Invader for Android Wear. I don't know who made this. It's not affiliated to me, but you have a lot of games out there. You have a lot of cool watch faces also these days. Here's an interesting one. I actually met the people who made this and at the welcome party here. It's like a beer o'clock watch face. Yeah, when it's 5 o'clock you can drink beer. So a lot of creativity out there, I have to say. So my talk, basically just a brief intro to Android Wear and what is my sample app here about. And then, we'll go to the code, into Android Studio, look at some of how the XML is done and the code, and hopefully we can manage to do quite a bit. All the code is on GitHub. This address will be on all the slides, and also the last slide. You see the GitHub address. There's also another Wear project. If you're interested in doing like full screen custom graphics apps on Wear, like games, I have an example on GitHub as well, how to do that. It's a bit different than doing standard Wear UI, so feel welcome to have a look at that as well. Then a few conclusions and some advice for people who want to get started on Android Wear. And hopefully you'll have some time for a few questions before the closing ceremony. So the Wear platform, basically just running a watch version of Android. There's some things you can do on normal Android, it's not possible on Wear, and some things vice versa, but we'll get into that later. So old watches, well, I have a Moto 360 here, it's already pretty old, first gen. So it needs to be connected to my phone via Bluetooth, but newer ones can use Wi-Fi for connectivity. So the main idea from Google is that the watch should be showing relevant data at relevant time by cards or notifications. You can also, of course, have standalone apps like the Space Invader one. Well, this relevant is, of course, a challenge. Now, a lot of the big companies, I think, Facebook and LinkedIn have like a Wear component for the Android app, so you get some special notifications on your app here. As a developer, if you want to release a Wear component or a standalone Wear app like a game, well, it still needs to be packaged inside a normal phone app. There's no special Play Store where you can download Wear apps. So it needs to be packaged into that, and I have a project as well on GitHub. You can look on how to do this packaging inside. There's several different ways to do that. So just beware of that. So you actually need to have two apps, like a phone and a Wear app, and then combine them into one. Just to show you a bit about how is the UI on Android Wear. So these are some examples from Google. I have some custom ones a bit later. There's quite a few more than these, but basically you have cards, which can also show an action. So in this case, it's a music player, and there's you see a pause button on this action card. You can have lists. There's a special variable list class for this. It's not the normal list view. And one thing you probably already noticed here is, well, the screen is really small. You only have 3 items here in your list. And this is, of course, the challenge on Wear. The screen is really small. I think on the Moto it's like 1.65 inches. In pixels, it's about 320 pixels by 290, I think, around that area. So we're almost back into the old VGA standard, 320 by 200. But of course, the density is higher. Also, you have like confirmations. You can show to the user that, okay, we sent a message or we did some other things. And there's a lot more of these special Wear UI. Okay, so the app I'm just presenting here I made it for educational purposes. So it's not a commercial project. And that's why if Janne, who did the keynote the first day, if she was here, she would kill me for the UI, because it's not meant to be like a commercial ones. It's just to show different, ways of doing the UI. So I have, buttons in different styles, and I have dialogues in different styles. So please, it's for educational purposes. I wanted to include as much code as possible for students and new people into Android Wear. So actually, this was born out of a critical need to examine what kind of food did we get in our local canteen. And there was a hypothesis that we get too much chicken. So of course, we need to make an app for that. We need to be data-driven. So I made an app for that, just for my own purposes and educational ones. And here, actually, there was a real use case. I don't think I've seen like a killer app yet for Wear. Of course, there's nice apps, but you can certainly live without Space Invader, or you can live without the beer or clock. So I haven't really found a killer app yet, but I hope some guys here will make it in the future. So the use case for me was that actually, not always carrying the phone around. And this might be something you can consider. Is there some places where people normally don't carry the phones these days? It's getting, less and less. People carry the phones to toilets, in the bed, whatever. But this could be something you could think about. And for me, I always leave my phone at the office just charging. So just to show you some of the UI here, I have it running also in an emulator. It's probably easier to show on the emulator. I have a big version here of the emulator. I have a smaller one as well, but I think we go with the big one. So basically, you have your list view here. What did you have for lunch? Well, okay, it's pretty simple, but let's say that I have pork. I click, and it's a bit slow, the emulator here, but on a real watch, it's quite fast. Then I can slide, and I can see my statistics from the other days, just to have another screen, just to show how to do multi-screen in Android Wear. These are called pages. We'll get back to the code for how to do that. You'll notice in the bottom there's like an indicator here. It's called a dot page indicator. I think it's really nice to include that for your users to see what screen are you on. If I go here, maybe if I was in Australia for a visit or something, maybe I wanted to put kangaroo on the menu. It's not one of the predefined choices. And here we run into a challenge on Wear, how to do input. Obviously, keyboard input is a no-go. You can't really type on the Wear, so that's why we have speech input, and that I wanted to demonstrate in the app as well. If you want to test it on the emulator, I won't do it because it doesn't work speech input. You have to type in, so it's not so much fun. But it works here, and I can add whatever new stuff I want to my list. Well, then there's some reset buttons to reset the stuff, and here I just wanted to show the dialogues. You notice, so here, these buttons here are just standard Android UI. If you don't do anything to the button, they're rendered like this. Well, maybe it's pretty boring, but of course you can style your buttons exactly as you do on normal Android to get something specific for your application. You have also dialogues. Let's say I press this reset stats. This is actually a normal alert dialog. It works exactly as on normal Android, and it's rendered like this. Of course, you can choose the text. Yeah, but that's how it's rendered. You probably want to do your own dialogues at some point, maybe a bit, let's say, where-like, maybe something like this, a bit more graphical as well. So that's also in the code. Okay, I think that's enough for the demo. Let's move a bit on. These we have already looked at. So let's move on. So actually, this is a pretty simple app, but there's a lot of where-specific things and how to get everything up and running. Here's just a small list of some of these things that this app demonstrates. Well, there's of course also a database, SQL database, that works exactly as you would expect, and there's a lot of other stuff. Okay, let's look at some code, and I can just show a few highlights because of time, but everything is on GitHub. Is it big enough? Bigger? No? I don't know. Just put it up a bit bigger, maybe. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So this is the manifest file. So just a few things I want to point out here. So, yeah, we have this. Hardware feature. Of course, we need to have a watch for that, so you want to include that in your manifest. You also want to include any classes you use, and here I use one class from the support library, the wearable support library. Confirmation activities, those were the ones you saw with the one button saying, or the one icon saying message sent. So yeah, those you also want to include as well. All right, let's go into the main activity, just to show the XML. Here are 3 important classes. Yeah, you'll notice that it's actually rendered as empty because it includes other pages. So you can use what is called a box insert layout if you want to have kind of this, the same UI on both a round and a square device. If you want to have a completely separate UI on round and square, there's also another class called watch view stop. You can use for that. I have that on my other project on GitHub, if you want to look into that. Here I have the same UI for round and square devices. So I use that. It needs to be in your root hierarchy, otherwise it won't work. Then there's the grid view pager. And this is for if you want to have several screens in your wearable app. You put that in as well. And finally, we have the dots page indicator to get the dots on the bottom. And you can also decide to put them on top or wherever you want. So there's a lot of options here. Okay, let's try to go into, let's say, the select one, just one of them. So you will notice that, so this is the XML for the first screen, where I can select what did I have for lunch. And those are all frame layouts. So each screen is actually a frame. So you can use the standard frame manager, etc. for that. So it's defined as a frame layout. And here you have a special list view. If I just show it here. Here, this is from the wearable support library. So this is the wearable list view. And of course, you need to define how will your children of this view look like. You can do that in another file. I have it here just to show you. So basically, you can do anything in there. So this is a variable list item layout class. And in my example here, well, basically, I have an image view, which was the blue circle you saw. So that is defined here as a drawable. And then I have the text view, which of course depends on what is in the database. You can do anything you want in here. So that's the layout. Okay, let's just look briefly at how to do this grid paging, how to have several pages. So basically, you need to have an adapter, and this is in where as well. It's called fragment grid pager adapter. If you can see it in the end here, you need to extend that, and then you need to override 3 methods to determine what should be on each of those screens. So I have 4 fragments as well here for each of my screens, but let's go to these methods you have to override. So this is the most important one. This is called getFragment. And this is called by the system. So you will notice actually here the 2 parameters. There's like a row and a column. So this means you can do a layout page in 2D. So you can also scroll horizontally if you want. Here I just have a 1-dimensional one. So I'm just looking at the column. So the column 1 is of course the first screen. Then I return my menu fragment. The column 1 is like the stats fragment, and the second one is the speech fragment, and then this clear fragment at the end. So that's basically how you do it. Yeah, and then you need also to return what is your row count. I just have 1 row here, and you need to return what is your column count. Of course, if you do something in 2D, the column count will depend on the row number. So this can be dynamically. That's why there's 1 parameter here. Yeah, I think I have, of course, a lot of code I want to show. Just the final one, because time is running, just a speech fragment. How to use the speech recognizer on where. Yeah, so I have a method here, which this is basically just pretty much copied from Google. There's a pretty good example from that. So to display a speech recognizer, you just start a new intent, and you can specify your language model here, or I'm not an expert on those, I just use the standard ones. And then basically you start your intent and wait for the result. And I have the code for the result, yeah, here. So first, of course, you want to check if everything went okay. Did we get was it also from the speech code? Then you can go in and get the result data here. So I just want to get the first word. I only allow my users or myself to just speak 1 word for the menu. That is why you see a 0 here, just get the first word. But of course, you can get the whole sentence, and then you can try to react on that. The speech recognizer is pretty good. It's not perfect. Yeah, I think that's what I can manage to show you. All the code is on GitHub, and if you want to use it for whatever you want, yeah, okay. So just the final conclusions, and then maybe just a few questions. Yeah, okay, if you want to debug, you can look at this slide later, but basically debugging on Android Wear is a bit different than normally. You need to do it by USB, by Bluetooth. Conclusions, I think the APIs are pretty good, but it's subject to change. That is at least what it says in the documentation. Most of the Android standard stuff is available, alert dialog, buttons, etc., etc. Some things, of course, doesn't work. Action bar, just to mention one. About the emulator, you can't trust it 100%. I found bugs in API level 21 of the round emulator. It didn't correctly render the stuff. This was removed. This works now in the API level 22 round emulator, so use the newest emulator version, or use a real watch as well, of course. And yes, we do get a lot of chicken. Okay, thank you.